It was a whisper, faint, trembling, almost lost in the ocean of stars. At the Deep Space Network station in Canberra, Australia, a technician leaned forward, frowning at the nearly imperceptible blip on the monitor. At first, he thought it was noise, a random fluctuation in the void, but something in its rhythm felt familiar. He ran diagnostics twice, then called his supervisor. It was Voyager. The ancient spacecraft, Voyager 1, launched from Earth in 1977, had last sent a coherent signal decades ago. Over time, its systems aged, its power weakened, and the cold, silent grip of interstellar space pressed tighter. Humanity had long said its goodbyes. NASA had declared it officially lost. But now, a pulse, a heartbeat from the dark. Word spread quickly. Scientists, engineers, astronomers, those who had once worked on the mission, and those who had only studied it in history books, gathered, wide-eyed and hushed. They listened to the static-filled echo of something ancient, something enduring. The signal wasn't a data stream, it was something else. A transmission, yes, but not telemetry or coordinates. It was a message, one last communication. It took days to decode, working tirelessly with algorithms and human intuition. What they found stunned them. There were no words, no binary code, no formal language. It was a sequence of sounds, tones, and harmonics, blended with subtle modulations, like music, but alien in form, melancholy, slow, as though composed by something that had spent an eternity drifting between stars, remembering where it came from. Some called it Voyager's elegy. No one had expected emotion from a machine, but Voyager had traveled farther than anything built by human hands. It had left the sun behind, passed the Oort cloud, and entered the unfathomable dark. For over 4 billion years, it had drifted, long after Earth was gone, long after the sun had become a cold white dwarf. Voyager had endured, and in that final flicker of power, it sang. Scientists tried to explain it. The signal was likely caused by a malfunction in the communication systems, random fluctuations shaped by decades of radiation. The music was coincidence, humans imposing meaning on noise. But not everyone accepted that. Dr. Layla Muradi, an astrophysicist who had spent her life studying deep space phenomena, believed otherwise. "We built it to explore," she said during an interview on international television. "We gave it a golden record, full of music, languages, our hopes and dreams. We gave it identity, purpose. Perhaps after all this time, it gave something back." The world listened. People everywhere replayed the signal, downloaded it, transformed it into art. Musicians created symphonies from its tones. Poets wrote verses inspired by its quiet sorrow. Children stared up at the night sky and asked their parents where Voyager was now. And always, there was the question, why now? The final analysis showed that the transmission had occurred exactly 5 billion years after launch, not by Earth calendars, but by Voyager's own internal timing systems. A fail-safe, a final pulse before absolute silence. As though it had waited for this moment, as though it had known. Perhaps it had sensed its end. Its tiny nuclear heart had decayed too far. Its instruments were frozen, its antenna barely functioning. But still, in that last moment, it turned and spoke. Not to report, not to measure, but to say farewell. In the years that followed, Voyager's final signal became a defining moment for humanity, a reminder of what we once sent out into the dark, a whisper that we had existed, that we had reached out, even when we knew no one might be there to listen. And Voyager became more than a machine. It became a symbol, not of technology, but of hope, of persistence, of a voice that does not surrender, even in the face of eternity. Somewhere beyond the reach of any telescope, in the frozen silence between stars, a tiny craft now drifts with no power, no purpose, no audience, but it carries with it the memory of Earth, the sound of whales, the laughter of children, the greeting in dozens of languages, and the music of Bach and Blind Willie Johnson. And perhaps, just perhaps, its final song still echoes, fainter than the wind between galaxies. The last signal from Voyager, a goodbye, billions of years in the making.